Putin Bad News Biden emphasizes support for Ukraine as Republicans argue over whether to appease Putin. During an unannounced visit to Kyiv, Ukraine on February 20, President Joe Biden walked with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. President Joe Biden is setting an early contrast with a campaign ad highlighting his historic visit to an active war zone to support the target of Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion, Ukraine. It was at night that he sneaked into Ukraine. And this morning, Joe Biden joined our allies as they walked the ruined streets of this war's capital, the commercial's narrator says. An example of standing up for democracy in a place where a tyrant is waging war to take it away. The ad uses news footage to show scenes of Biden's meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in the streets of Kiev in February, alongside clips of the destruction in Ukraine after Putin's assault. Joe Biden, the narrator says, showed the world what America is made of in the middle of a war zone. Says it all. That's the quiet strength of a true leader, who doesn't back down to a dictator. 6 states with close presidential election margins in 2020 and all of which are expected to be closely contested again next year will air the ad during CBS's 60 Minutes program on Sunday night in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. The ad is a part of the Biden campaign's previously announced $25 million in pre-election advertising. It would not say how much was spent on this advertisement. A 1-minute commercial on the most watched news program in those markets, however, likely costs 6 figures. One campaign official, speaking on the condition of anonymity, said, "It's a good theme for us," adding that the contrast with Republicans, who are never mentioned in the ad, is clear. Siding with a dictator over a democratic government is a radical stance to take. Donald Trump, who in 2022 called Vladimir Putin a genius for invading his country, had previously attempted a coup to remain in office after losing the 2020 election to Joe Biden. Others in the 2024 GOP presidential field have adopted this pro-Putin stance, though to varying degrees. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and South Carolina Senator Tim Scott have been more ambivalent about whether or not the United States should aid Ukraine in its fight against Russia's invasion than their predecessors, former Governors Nikki Haley and Mike Pence and Chris Christie. The biotech tycoon Vivek Ramaswamy has been the most hospitable to Putin, promising not to allow Ukraine to join NATO and saying he would allow Russia to keep some of the territory it has taken by force. Europe must take the lead. When asked if he would back sending more money and weapons to Ukraine if he won, DeSantis said, I would have Europe step up and do their job," during the Republican debate in Milwaukee on August 23. Some 2024 candidates, like some Republican primary voters, don't care about the situation in Ukraine, while others openly support Putin. When asked about Russia's invasion before, DeSantis had said it was a territorial dispute that didn't warrant much attention from the United States. Scott has stated that the U.S.-Mexico border is his top priority, not the border between Russia and Ukraine. While the MAGA Republicans running for president have sided with dictators over democracy, President Biden rallied the West in the wake of Russia's unjustified invasion of Ukraine, said Biden campaign chair Julie Chavez Rodriguez. According to the advertisement, as President Biden heads to the G20, this ad shows the American people how a true president stands up to bullies like Vladimir Putin, instead of coddling them. Trump has spent years gloating about his own bravery in visiting a U.S. base in Iraq over Christmas in 2018, despite the fact that both George W. Bush and Barack Obama had previously made 11 such trips to Iraq and Afghanistan between them during their 4 terms in office. They didn't just draw the blinds, they also switched off the lights. In an address to Republicans in New Hampshire earlier this year, Trump remarked on how dark it was as Air Force One flew into Al-Assad Air Base without its landing lights on. As president, I wanted to see if I could give the Congressional Medal of Honor to myself. But what Biden did was unprecedented in the modern era of the United States. Each of the 3 presidents, Bush, Obama, and Trump, visited military bases. However, Vice President Biden visited a country and city that are constantly being attacked by Russian ground and air forces.